Right now, somewhere in America, an EV owner is sitting in a charging line that should have taken 20 minutes and is stretched into an hour. Their battery has lost range they didn't expect to lose this fast. And when they tried to sell that car last month, the resale number made them wince. This isn't a rare story anymore, it's becoming the norm, and it's a big part of why EV sales growth has stalled out across huge parts of the country. While most of the industry keeps insisting the answer is simply more electric, faster, Honda has been doing something different. Quietly. No flashy press tour, no bold declarations about killing the gas engine, just a methodical redesign of the hybrid, aimed straight at the years right in front of us. And what they're building might solve the exact problems EV buyers are running into without asking anyone to change how they live. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why Honda is betting big on hybrids again, and why that bet might be smarter than it looks. If you're into where the auto industry is actually headed, not just the headlines, hit subscribe now, because this channel breaks that down every week.
Why EV growth stalled. Here's the uncomfortable truth the industry has been slow to admit. Full electrification isn't failing because people hate EVs. It's failing because the everyday realities of owning one haven't caught up with the promise. Charging infrastructure is still patchy outside major metro areas. Battery degradation worries buyers more than manufacturers like to acknowledge, and resale values on EVs have been dropping faster than almost anyone projected a few years back. Honda felt this pressure directly. The company pulled back hard on its EV spending, cutting billions of dollars in planned investment and pushing that timeline out toward the 2030s. 3 EV models slated for North America got scrapped entirely, including the Zero Series SUV that Honda had shown off as a flagship of its electric future. That's not a small correction. That's a company reading the room and changing direction in real time. But here's what makes Honda's move interesting. They didn't retreat into more of the same gasoline engines either. Instead, they funneled a huge chunk of that redirected money, tens of billions of dollars, into building the next generation of hybrid technology. Not a stopgap, not a bridge to something else, a serious long-term bet that hybrids are where the next decade of driving actually lives. Honda's plan calls for over a dozen new hybrid models rolling out globally starting in 2027, with a goal of selling more than 2 million hybrids a year by the end of the decade. That's not a company hedging its bets. That's a company that looked at where its customers actually are and decided to meet them there. Compare that to what's happening elsewhere in the industry. Ford has taken multi-billion-dollar charges to reset its own EV plans. GM pushed back its electric truck rollout and quietly brought plug-in hybrids back into the lineup after dropping them earlier. Even Canada's government suspended its own EV sales mandate after watching demand slow down harder than projected. Honda isn't the outlier here. It's one of the earliest and clearest examples of a much bigger industry-wide recalibration. The difference is that Honda didn't just cut and wait. They redirected that capital into something with a specific, engineered answer.
Inside Honda's 2027 engine. So what does next-generation hybrid even mean in 2027? Because if you're picturing the same Prius-style setup from a decade ago, you're not seeing the full picture. For years, hybrid improvement meant one thing: bigger batteries, bigger motors, more hardware. But that approach has basically hit a ceiling. You can only add so much weight and complexity before the fuel economy gains start canceling themselves out. Honda's engineers clearly understood this because their next-gen system leans on something different: software intelligence. The new mid-size hybrid platform, arriving from 2027 onward, actually cuts weight by around 90 kilograms compared to the current setup, while sharing more than 60% of its parts across different vehicle lines. That's a serious engineering achievement: lighter, simpler, and cheaper to build, all at once. The real magic is in how the system manages power. There's an intelligent energy control layer, constantly recalculating down to fractions of a second exactly how power should flow between the gas engine, the electric motor, and the battery. It's not guessing, it's optimizing in real time based on what the car is actually doing at that exact moment. Pair that with a sharper focus on thermal efficiency, squeezing more usable energy out of every drop of fuel while losing less to heat, and you get a system that's smarter, not just heavier. Here's how it plays out on the road. In city driving, the electric motor does almost all of the actual propulsion work, while the gas engine steps back into a supporting role, acting essentially as a generator that keeps the battery topped up. On the highway, the system flips to something closer to a direct mechanical link between engine and wheels, cutting out the energy loss that normally comes from converting gas power into electric power and back again. And Honda specifically targeted the thing that's always made traditional hybrids feel a little disconnected, that rubber band sensation, where the engine revs and the car doesn't quite match your input. Their new system is built to eliminate that gap entirely, delivering acceleration that feels seamless instead of translated through a middleman. No gear hunting, no lag between what you ask the car to do and what it actually does. The company's large vehicle hybrid system, aimed at bigger SUVs and trucks for the North American market, is targeting more than 30% better fuel efficiency alongside better acceleration performance compared to today's gas-only versions of the same vehicles. That's not an incremental bump. That's a genuinely different driving experience wrapped around genuinely better numbers. This matters because North America has historically been the toughest market for hybrid enthusiasm. Buyers here have leaned toward trucks, SUVs, and towing capability, categories where hybrids used to feel like a compromise. Honda is building this new system specifically to remove that compromise, targeting real towing performance and full throttle response, not just city driving efficiency numbers that look good on paper but don't hold up on the highway.
Honda versus Toyota and Tesla. Now, none of this happens in a vacuum. Honda isn't the only company fighting for this exact customer, and it's worth being honest about where they stand next to the competition. Toyota is still the name most people associate with hybrid reliability, and that reputation is earned. Decades of proven mass-market durability don't happen by accident. But Toyota's hybrids have often prioritized dependability over driving feel. Honda is making a different pitch: sharper throttle response, tighter handling, a car that feels genuinely engaging to drive, not just efficient to own. It's the fun-to-drive angle Honda has leaned on for years, now applied to a hybrid platform built for 2027 and beyond. Then there's BYD, which has built its dominance on scale. Massive battery production driving costs down to levels almost nobody else can match. Honda isn't trying to out-manufacture BYD on volume. Their play is efficiency optimization, getting more out of a smaller, smarter system rather than outproducing a company that's already leaning hard on economies of scale. And Tesla remains the company to beat on software and EV ecosystem dominance, over-the-air updates, a mature charging network, a brand identity built entirely around electric-first thinking. But that's precisely the lane Honda isn't trying to compete in. Their pitch to a driver considering Tesla is simple. You get modern technology and strong performance without range anxiety, without charging dependency, without rearranging your life around where the nearest fast charger happens to be. Put all of that together, and Honda's strategic position becomes clear. They're not trying to win every segment. They're going after the enormous group of drivers who want the benefits of modern automotive technology without fully adopting an EV lifestyle. And that group, it turns out, might be a lot bigger than the industry assumed a few years ago.
The $20,000 battery risk. All the engineering talk means nothing if it doesn't translate into real savings. So let's talk about total cost of ownership, because this is where Honda's bet gets genuinely compelling. Stretch the comparison out 5 to 10 years, and you have to weigh purchase price, fuel costs, maintenance, and resale value all together. A smaller battery pack, which is central to Honda's hybrid approach, means less dependence on the rare earth metals that have made EV batteries so expensive and so exposed to volatile global supply chains. It means lower manufacturing costs baked into the sticker price, and critically, it avoids the single scariest line item EV owners fear, a catastrophic battery replacement bill years down the road. This approach also happens to fit differently depending on where you live. In North America, it solves the long-distance driving problem without asking you to trust a charging network that's still filling in the gaps, especially outside major cities. In Europe, it threads the needle between strict emissions regulations and keeping entry-level pricing within reach for regular buyers, not just the premium end of the market. And in developing markets, where charging infrastructure is still years away from EV-ready, this kind of hybrid technology closes the gap almost seamlessly. It's no coincidence that SUVs and crossovers are getting this new powertrain first. That's where the volume is. That's where Honda can move the needle fastest and prove the technology works at scale before rolling it out further across the lineup, and where the highest number of buyers will actually feel the difference in their monthly budget.
The 10-year outlook. Let's step back for a second, because there's a bigger question underneath all of this. Does driving an EV with zero tailpipe emissions actually mean zero environmental impact? Not really, not when you factor in the full picture, from how the battery gets built to how it eventually gets recycled or disposed of. That's the kind of nuance that gets lost in the electric equals clean shorthand the industry has leaned on for years. Honda's real strategy isn't a rejection of EVs, it's a dual-track approach, strengthening hybrids to carry the industry through this transition decade while continuing to build EV capability in parallel for whenever the infrastructure and the market actually catch up. It's not an all-or-nothing bet, it's a company hedging intelligently instead of chasing a headline. So if you're actually in the market for a new car in the next couple of years, the takeaway isn't hybrids beat EVs or EVs are dead. It's simpler than that. Look at your actual driving habits, your commute, your road trips, your access to charging, and choose the powertrain that matches your real life, not the one that matches industry hype. Because at the end of the day, winning this industry was never about racing to a single technology first. It's about staying relevant to what people actually need. And right now, a lot of drivers need exactly what Honda is quietly building. So here's the real question. Is Honda playing it smart by slowing down on EVs, or are they just falling behind while Tesla and BYD keep pushing full electric forward? I want to know where you land on this one. Drop your take in the comments. Agree, disagree, tell me I'm wrong. I read all of it. And if you want to see how Toyota is answering this exact same question with a completely different strategy, that's exactly what we're covering next. Subscribe so you don't miss it. I'll see you in the next video.